On a remote river surrounded by dense forests, another family lives through a grueling exodus from Central America. They've left Honduras. After 5 long days and nights, they finally reached Guatemala's northern Petén region. Their goal this day, paying a smuggler to cross them into Mexico. This man, who prefers to remain anonymous, says gang violence in Honduras forced them to flee their country.
Se metían a las casas de nosotros, nos quitaban el arroz, el frijol, el maíz, todo lo que es de comer nos lo quitaban y ellos iban para la montaña. Da miedo por ellos y da miedo avisarle a la policía.
Their journey to the United States has been especially tough on their little daughter.
Es algo muy difícil porque apenas tiene un año 4 meses y la verdad pues sí me duele en el corazón andarlos aquí porque nunca esperé traerlos a sufrir aquí a este camino.
Donde hay chance de comer y todo, donde conseguimos algo de comer, pues la prioridad es ella y aunque a veces no lo suficiente, que el otro día tenía sed y no hallábamos agua. Sí.
When the gangs invaded his home, he says he briefly thought about going to the police, but he knew the gangs had already bribed them.
¿Por qué no llegó la policía para proteger ustedes?
Es que la policía están involucrados con ellos. Ahí nadie puede hacer nada. Si la policía va para arriba o va alguien para arriba, ellos ya lo saben. Ahí está feo, ahí no puede. Más bien uno tiene miedo de avisarle a la policía, porque es peligroso y ahí mismo en la casa lo iban a matar a uno.
Every day, smugglers' boats take this route along the San Pedro Martir River. To climb aboard the boat, each migrant pays the equivalent of about $70. All of the travelers are Central Americans, some from El Salvador and Guatemala, but most are from Honduras, men in their mid-20s and early 30s. They face extreme conditions.
They're traveling at this very moment with nothing to drink as the sun is burning down hot this afternoon. They tell me the plan is they're going to ask for food and water along the way.
Among them is a woman who gives us only her first name, Delmira. She's a single mother from Honduras who is traveling with her 9-year-old daughter.
Donde trabajaba un cipote quería usar de mí y me puso una pistola en la cabeza para que yo cediera a él y yo le dije que no, primero muerta y si así era, mejor me salía. En Honduras la madre soltera es más discriminada, como está solo, todo mundo dice, ella no tiene quien la defiende, vamos a hacerle tal vez cosas que no deben de ser, entonces eso es difícil, en Honduras es difícil y hay mucha gente que es mala, pues, tiene mal corazón.
Delmira has 2 other daughters, but she took the difficult decision of leaving them back in Honduras. She says it would have been far too difficult to bring them along.
Quiero trabajar para que mis hijas puedan tener un mejor estudio y que no se van a quedar rudas, que es lo que no quiero, y que vivan mejor, no como hasta ahorita en casa de cartón mojándose y todo.
Later, she reveals that she's traveling with the man she met along the way. He helps pay for her expenses. Human rights organizations worry that women and children traveling alone are vulnerable to kidnappings. Buses arrive daily in the remote town of El Naranjo, also located in the El Petén region of northern Guatemala. Because the town is relatively close to the border with Mexico, it has become a key transit point for Central American migrants. Their presence here drives the local economy. Now, major international companies, including Mexico's giant bakery, Bimbo Bread, are gaining a foothold here. Their trucks cross the river, bringing products that until recently were not available in this part of the world. Local businesses like this pharmacy are growing, thanks in great part to the migrants who leave money here. Pharmacist Benjamin Estrada caters to them, selling the migrants first aid supplies and medicines they might need along their journey.
50% el comercio del naranjo depende del migrante, porque pues servicios de hospedaje, alimentación, diversiones. Entonces, si todos los días vienen, están un día, 2 días y luego se van, pero vienen otros.
After 2 hours on the water, the smugglers and migrants arrive at a Guatemalan ranch just a few kilometers from the border with Mexico. Like the other migrants she's traveling with, Delmira still does not know if she can trust the men she's paying to transport her and her daughter. But they are so far away from home now that they have no other choice but to continue. Those who make it will travel more than 2,000 kilometers in an often treacherous journey across Mexico. Others do not have the money to pay for a ride aboard the smugglers' vehicles. The next stop is the town of Tenosique, located in the southern Mexican state of Tabasco. The Mexican government built this highway between La Palma and Tenosique in an effort to spur economic development, which has been slow in coming. By paving the roads where thick jungles once dominated the landscape, the Mexican government's good intentions have unexpectedly encouraged a vibrant and growing migrant smuggling industry.
In the days CCTV has been reporting from this region, we have observed absolutely no presence of Mexico's National Immigration Institute on this highway.
And so they keep on coming. A favorite stopping point is this shelter for migrants called La 72, named after 72 migrants killed in a 2010 massacre in northern Mexico. The shelter is not far from a Mexican immigration point, yet Mexican immigration officials seldom come here. Upon arrival, each of them are registered. They give their name, the name of the country they left, and their reasons for leaving. Most cite violence and poverty back home.
The governments of the United States, Mexico, and many Central American nations are taking note that a growing number of the migrants are unaccompanied minors, but also adults who are bringing along infant children.
El año pasado, para decirle un número, recibimos 1,700 personas, menores de edad no acompañados. Este año, a partir de abril, estamos recibiendo un sinfín de niños, niñas y adolescentes que vienen con su papá, con su mamá o con ambos, pero también seguimos recibiendo a los menores de edad que vienen sin ninguna compañía.
15-year-old Alejandro Manuel is traveling with his cousin, who's also a teenager. Both are from Honduras.
Hasta, sí, creo que Guatemala, y de Guatemala conseguimos alojar en contenedores y los tocó caminar siempre y mucha hambre aguantamos ahí.
Back in Honduras, his family needed him to pay for his own living.
En Honduras las cosas están bien feas por los trabajos, no. Si uno trabaja, solo trabaja para la comida y solo para eso es lo que trabaja uno. O hay veces que ni para la comida, no, que solo por trabajar.
Erlan Flores, who is 16 years old, is traveling alone. He says he tried his hardest to stay in Honduras, but it was impossible.
No, yo nomás estudiaba y así trabajaba. Vendía frutas, verduras. Me levantaba con ánimo, me bañaba, iba al colegio y luego regresaba al trabajo a vender verdura. Todo para llevarle la alimentación a mi madre y a mis hermanos menores.
He says it often dawns on him that he's probably too young to be doing this alone.
Un migrante ya mayor de edad tiene más experiencia que un niño. Usted sabe que un niño lo pueden matar, o él solo se puede morir de hambre, porque aquí estos caminos no es para un niño.
With waves of unaccompanied Central American minors heading north, the United States has been cracking down. Busloads of migrants are now being deported daily back to Central America. A 2009 military coup exacerbated political instability in Honduras, opening the way for criminal organizations to thrive there. Simultaneously, Mexico's anti-drug campaign forced traffickers further south. They found refuge in Honduras, and now drug-related violence is rampant in that Central American nation. Street gangs across the region, including El Salvador and Guatemala, have been spreading. They're recruiting new members, often children and teenagers. If they do not join the gangs, they face death threats, so they flee north. A recent United Nations survey shows that nearly 60% of unaccompanied Central American minors are leaving in a desperate attempt to escape violence.
Some of them told us that, yes, I'm seeking family reunification with my mother here in Mexico or in the US, but the reason behind why this kid is seeking family reunification is because his father back home was killed.
As the flow of unaccompanied Central American children continues, Mexico's government has been forced to confront the growing humanitarian crisis. Mexico now finds itself in the middle of a delicate balancing act. It must look tough on the issue, so the president quietly passed a decree that, for the first time ever, allows Mexican soldiers, Marines, and federal police to guard border checkpoints with Guatemala and Belize. Mexico also says that for the first time ever, it will prohibit migrants from boarding freight trains heading north.
No vamos ya a dejar que esta circunstancia adversa, que es el que se suban tantos migrantes a la semana en uno o dos viajes que inicia la bestia en la frontera sur, pues siga poniendo en riesgo a tantos y tantos cientos de migrantes.
The presidents of Mexico and Guatemala also announced they will cooperate on a new program granting 3-day visas to Central American visitors and workers entering the southern states of Mexico.
El programa Frontera Sur tiene un doble propósito. Uno, proteger y salvaguardar los derechos humanos de los migrantes que ingresan y transitan por México. Y dos, ordenar los cruces internacionales para incrementar el desarrollo y la seguridad de la región.
This Mexican immigration crackdown took place the night of April 30th, 2014, near the border town of Tapachula, Chiapas. The targets, a caravan of immigrants' rights activists.
Queríamos paso libre, pues eso era lo que pedíamos para poder pasar frontera. Pero luego pasó un carro y nos dijo que habían muchas personas adelante, de que nos iban a detener. Estaban agarrando a mis compañeros a fuerza, los agarraban, los despegaban de las manos, porque estábamos así todos agarrados de las manos. Entonces yo vine y me levanté y les dije de que sí. Yo me iba a ir, pero quería a mis niñas y me dijeron que mis niñas estaban con ellos.
It was one of the worst nights of my life, especially because I had been with the migrants from the beginning of the caravan and I knew where they were coming from, that they were just wanting to, the message was Paso Libre, that they wanted to travel through Mexico. And just watching the response of the authorities to such a peaceful message, such a brutal display of force was disgusting.
At the shelter in Tenosique, La 72, migrants get a breathing space where they can recover from their long, arduous journey. Here, they get a bed, a shower, and 3 meals a day. Those who seek humanitarian visas from the Mexican government are allowed to stay for a few months. But when the freight train finally comes, it's time to go.
The migrants are now running in search of the train that has finally made its way here. This is the moment they've all been waiting for, jumping aboard so they can head their way north to the United States.
It turns out to be a false alarm. Once again, they're left waiting for the next train to come. Nightfall, and the migrant children staying at La 72 shelter play together. Most have heard this song. created by the United States government in an effort to convince them to stay home.
Migrantes de todas partes se atrincheran entre los rieles, muy lejos de donde vienen, más lejos de a donde van. Esperan el temblar de la tierra, el chillido de las ruedas, aparece tras la montaña, amenazadora serpiente. De acero son sus escamas, también de acero es su vientre. La bestia del sur le llama al maldito de la muerte, con el diablo en la caldera, agüita ruge y se retuerce.
The next day, the freight train, known as La Bestia, or the Beast, finally arrives. Officially, it carries construction materials and agricultural products. For them, it's a free ride north. Climbing aboard is not easy. Over the years, countless numbers of migrants have slipped and fallen under the train's massive steel wheels. A few can afford to pay for buses that will take them all the way across Mexico to the border with the United States. And many others have no other choice but to keep walking, hoping that if they can make it to the United States, their lives there will somehow be better than the ones they had back in Central America.
Many of the children traveled to the United States with the knowledge they will be allowed to remain in the country if caught. The U.S. releases underage migrants to relatives already living in the country until their case can be heard. But the U.S. court system is so overloaded with immigration cases, it can take years after being apprehended for legal proceedings to continue.
Coming up.
Changing stereotypes to prevent prejudice.
We will never sit down to talk with black people if there are not mestizo or white or Jewish people too, because racism is not a problem of color, it is a human issue. We want to work with diversity to promote diversity.
America's Now.